It's just another ordinary day and you are in your room playing video games when you hear a loud commotion coming from outside. So you look out your apartment window and see absolute chaos. People are running for their lives. Cars are smashing into each other. And certain people seem to be eating other people alive. Uh-oh. Turns out you're in the middle of a zombie outbreak. Do you have what it takes to survive? I'm going to explain how you can beat the zombies by breaking down the story, the mistakes made, and what you should do to survive the zombie outbreak in the movie #Alive. Time out. I want to quickly thank the kind people that take the time to like and comment on my videos. Your likes and comments really help with the YouTube algorithm and growing the channel. Okay, I just need 10 seconds to quickly advertise my online store to you, then I'll start the video. Check out mebomber.com for the funniest clothing on the internet. Mebomber is sure to get you laughs and compliments. MEBOMBER makes a great novelty gift for friends and family. And check out my Patreon if you want to directly show your support. Links in the description. Alright, let's start the video. Oh Jun-woo is in his room playing computer games. He gets an alert on his cell phone and television about a growing number of civilians becoming extremely aggressive and violent. He looks outside his window and sees hundreds of people running out of buildings to their cars. Vehicles are smashing into each other. Violent civilians are attacking and eating other people's flesh. Alright, so leaving the safety of your home to try to escape the city in a car is a terrible decision. Countless humans and zombies all over the city are going to be blocking the streets, making it impossible to drive. Unless you own a vehicle like a Hummer truck or monster truck that's capable of driving over people and cars, then leaving your home to drive is going to result in you becoming a sitting target for zombies to swarm. Even if you do own the right kind of vehicle for driving over obstacles, do you have the conscience to not only kill zombies, but also drive over innocent people on the streets and in cars that get in your way? Do you have the experience and driving skill to not flip your vehicle over when driving over obstacles? The best decision would be to remain in the safety of your home to wait for events to further develop. Wait and find out if law enforcement is projected to be able to gain control over the situation. Maybe rescue teams or a refugee camp will be established. At minimum, stalling out the zombies for as long as possible means more time for them to decompose, thus becoming slower, weaker, and easier to kill. Upon death, when the heart and the respiratory system stop circulating, the cells of the body are unable to get oxygen or remove waste, resulting in excess carbon dioxide and an acidic environment that results in cell membranes rupturing and releasing enzymes that eat the cells from the inside out. So the more time that passes means more time for the zombies' legs, arms, and jaw muscles to decompose and become less effective at fighting you or stopping your escape. Back to the story. Quick side note, I'm shortening the main character's name Woo Jun-woo to June from now on because the full name is too difficult for me to pronounce. Somebody is screaming in pain while being attacked outside of June's apartment. June, being the curious fool that he is, opens his front door to peek outside when a random guy named Lee rushes inside the apartment for safety. June tries to kick Lee out of his apartment, but Lee begs for compassion and tells a sad story about his brother suddenly becoming a zombie. There are so many red flags here, I almost don't know where to begin. June just heard someone getting attacked outside his front door. Then seconds later, the closest person to Yoon's front door is this random intruder who's admitted to recently being in contact with a zombie, aka his own brother. And June has already seen outside his window people transform into zombies a few minutes after being bitten, so he should know that seemingly normal people are still a threat. If you aren't heartless enough to grab a weapon like a kitchen knife to kill the intruder, or aggressively force the intruder out of your apartment where they'll likely be killed, there is a more humane alternative. First, grab a weapon to defend yourself in case an unexpected zombie transformation occurs. Then from a distance, throw the intruder a few socks to stuff in their mouth and a shirt to tie around their mouth, which helps keep the sock in place. This will buy you precious seconds to react if the intruder transforms. They'll be unable to immediately begin biting you. Then proceed to rope, handcuff, or duct tape the intruder's hands together. Observe the now handicapped intruder for at least an hour to see if they transform. Back to the story. June, the nice guy, allows Lee, the intruder, to stall for time and use the bathroom before he's kicked out of the apartment. June grabs a knife for self-defense when he notices the intruder has a bite on his hand and is bleeding from his eyes, which are signs of being infected. The intruder suddenly transforms into a zombie before he can open the door to leave. June manages to tackle the intruder out of his apartment. It's a bad idea to tackle and have your exposed flesh close to a zombie's mouth. Put on multiple layers of clothing, including hand gloves and neck scarves, to reduce the surface area of exposed flesh that a zombie can bite. And to further minimize the risk of being bitten, all combat with zombies should be limited to projectiles. projectiles or attacks from a distance with a weapon. Back to the story. Jun is motivated to continue living by text messages from his family telling him that they are safe, they love him, and to make sure that he survives. Jun organizes the small amounts of food and snacks in his home into 8 days of meals. The big mistake he's making is eating way too much of his limited food supply per day. When you don't know how long the zombie crisis will carry on, you have to stretch your food supply to last as long as possible. The human body can survive up until 2 months without food, which is supported by the fact that the vast majority of people who voluntarily stop eating to participate in hunger strikes died after 45 to 61 days. People suffering from anorexia have survived on 200 calories or less per day for years, so split your meals into a couple hundred calories per day to stretch your food supply for as long as possible. After 3 to 5 days of not drinking water, your body's organs start to shut down. So prioritize storing as much water as possible into every available bottle, bucket, and bowl, because if the zombie crisis results in the city's public water system being shut off, you're not going to be able to survive very long if your personal water supply runs out. Back to the story. It's now day 2 of the zombie outbreak. Yoon wakes up, checks social media, and sees survivors posting their address and asking for help. Yoon watches the local news that's reporting on the zombie outbreak and how the zombies behave. Yoon's cell phone is getting no service, so he attaches his phone to a remote control helicopter to fly it high enough into the air to get a phone signal and call his parents. Yoon sees from his phone's video application footage of zombies roaming every floor of his apartment and the nearby buildings. Yoon's phone flies high enough into the air that it finally gets a signal, but while he's calling his dad, his RC helicopter's battery dies and everything comes crashing down. It blows my mind that someone can be so irresponsible or absent-minded that they would fly their only cell phone on a remote control helicopter that they did not even charge before using. A depressed Yoon passes time playing computer games until his Wi-Fi shuts off. Yoon no longer has a way to access the internet without Wi-Fi or a cellular signal. He should have spent the internet time that he had productively and researched what nearby areas or cities have been affected less by the zombie outbreak, or researched what nearby locations have a higher military presence and are safer to live in, or studied forums, websites, and social media pages that provide zombie and survival advice, or read online updates by the local and state government about what they've already done and plan to do regarding the zombies and survivors. Back to the story. Yoon looks outside his window and sees a female police officer running in the streets and being chased by zombies. The woman shoots her gun in self-defense, thus drawing the attention of even more zombies, and she's eventually overwhelmed and killed by the undead. Only fire a gun as a last resort. It's loud and provides unwanted clues to your location. A more suitable and quieter projectile weapon is a bow and arrow, if you have one available and the experience to effectively use it. Otherwise, use a simple yet effective striking weapon such as a hammer or an axe. Do not run out in the open where you can be easily spotted by the undead. If you must leave the safety of your home, make an effort to minimize the chances of being seen by hiding behind objects and hugging the sides of open spaces so there's less angles that you can be noticed from. It's now day 7 of the zombie outbreak, and a depressed Yoon has begun drinking alcohol to cope. Alcohol is a diuretic, which means it dehydrates you by causing your body to remove fluids from your blood through your renal system. When you have a limited water supply, you cannot afford to drink beverages that dehydrate you. Yoon covers his windows in paper to prevent zombies from noticing him inside the apartment. This is a good idea to avoid detection. However, there are potentially negative impacts to your mental health if you live in a constantly dark, closed-in space, such as it contributing to you feeling lethargic or depressed. Yoon watches a news report that says the undead retain some cognitive ability like being able to open a door, that the zombie infection can be transmitted through contact with blood, and that the zombies do not possess heightened vision, hearing, or smell. Knowing that these undead do not have superhuman senses will aid in your plans that involve hiding from or ambushing a zombie. Another lesson to be learned from the news report is that if you plan to fight zombies, make sure you shield your eyeballs with goggles or glasses, protect the insides of your nose and mouth with a mask, and cover any open wounds on your skin to minimize the opportunities that zombie blood has to enter your body to infect you. Plus, make sure you lock and barricade the doors to your home, because the zombies have the ability to use and break doorknobs. Back to the story. A hungry Yoon watches a food commercial, which then causes him to binge eat the little food he had remaining. Yoon turns off the TV, throws the remote control on the table, and accidentally knocks over one of his few remaining water bottles. The fact that Yoon, the adult gamer who still lives with his parents, could not even muster up the mental fortitude, discipline, and maturity to properly manage his resources or control his is eating in a life or death situation made me view his character as a weak man-child that I could no longer cheer for. Yoon goes to refill the water bottle and finds out that the public water system has been shut off and his faucets and toilet no longer works. He did not have the foresight to fill whatever containers he had available with water while the public water system still functioned. It's day 15 of the zombie outbreak and Yoon is a full-blown alcoholic now, who still doesn't understand that liquor actually dehydrates his body, which is making his situation worse. Yoon has a mental breakdown. Yoon receives a voicemail from his parents that's too staticky to understand because his cell phone has no service. Yoon attaches his cell phone to a selfie stick and hangs outside his balcony to get enough signal to clearly listen to his parents' voicemail, and then hears what sounds like his family screaming and being attacked by zombies. It's day 20 of the zombie outbreak and Yoon tries to hang himself. A survivor in the building across the street shines a laser pointer on Yoon, and the revelation that he's not alone motivates him to abandon his suicide attempt. The other survivor is a woman named Kim. Kim notices that Yoon is clutching his stomach in hunger, so she slides him a box of food across a rope that Yoon flew to her apartment using an RC helicopter. Yoon leaves the safety of his home to scavenge nearby apartments for food. Yoon manages to hide and avoid the undead, then he enters an apartment to take clothes, food, and electronics, but he left the front door unlocked, which allowed a zombie to sneak inside and tackle him. Yoon pushes the zombie away without getting bitten, and runs back to his apartment. This mistake is inexcusable. He's already been told by an earlier news report that zombies can open doors and windows, so he should be locking and preferably barricading the door to any room that he enters. Yoon sends Kim a walkie-talkie and some of the food that he scavenged. Sacrificing some food and other resources in the pursuit of building a friendship with a neighboring survivor is a good idea that helps you maintain your mental health during this crisis. Studies have shown that friendships can help reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. Kim says she noticed from her window that no zombies live on the top floor of Jun's apartment, so she decides to run through the dangerous streets to Jun's building so they can live together on the top floor. Kim runs through the streets, dodging and slashing zombies with an axe. Kim gets tackled by a zombie and is about to die when Jun appears in the streets to help her fight, and they somehow both make it inside his building without being bitten. They take the elevator to the top floor and are chased by zombies. It looks like Kim was wrong about this floor being empty. A survivor living on the floor hears their screaming and opens his door to let Kim and Jun inside his apartment before they are killed. I'm going to be calling the unnamed survivor Johnny from now on so I don't have to keep repeating unnamed survivor. Johnny gives Kim and Yoon food to eat as they discuss their experiences in the zombie outbreak. The food was drugged and Jun and Kim pass out. Studies have shown that prolonged isolation can lead to cognitive breakdown, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, distorted perception of time, and even hallucinations. Prolonged isolation during a zombie outbreak would be even worse for a person's mental health, so after 1 month it's best to not immediately trust any new survivors that you meet. That includes not accepting food from new survivors unless they take a bite out of everything on your plate first, to be certain that your food has not been poisoned. Johnny drags Kim's unconscious body into a room to feed his zombie wife that he has locked up, who has not eaten in days. Kim regains consciousness and is attacked by Johnny's zombie wife. Kim stops screaming, so Johnny thinks she's dead and slowly opens the door. Turns out Kim managed to overpower the zombie and she pushes it on Johnny. Johnny is eaten by his zombie wife. Kim shoots the zombie wife and Johnny in the head. Jun and Kim notice helicopters flying outside the window. They fight their way through zombies to get to the roof so they can signal the helicopters for help. They arrive too late. The helicopters already left, and the pursuing zombies break open the door to the building's roof. Jun and Kim are cornered and are going to die, but then a helicopter shows up out of nowhere. The soldiers inside shoot the zombies and fly the two survivors away to safety. While on the helicopter, Jun's cell phone gets signal and he sees voicemails and text messages from his family, so it turns out his parents survived the zombie outbreak after all. That's the end of the movie. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. I got more how to beat and why you wouldn't survive videos coming up for your favorite movies and TV shows, so stay tuned. Have a fantastic day and I'll see you on the next video.